It's a new year. 2024 was an awesome year. 2023 was an amazing year. But this year has also got to be an amazing year. I mean, there's so many games coming. There's so much to talk about. So many new, fresh games, exciting games, new things to look at so we don't have to talk about the same stuff over and over and over again, you know? But this is Luke Stevens live. I mean, of course, I have to talk about the leak thing of Starfield's Gore system that was cut. How could I not? How could I not? Do you have any idea how many people sent me this on X? Sent me DMs with this link being like, hey, you should talk about this when you get back from vacation. I have to. We have to, man. This, I will say it was one of the weirder things that Starfield had no Gore system compared to Fallout and Elder Scrolls and stuff, because Fallout, they built out a pretty solid Gore system for that game. And I remember before Starfield came out, watching some of the trailers and being like, is there no Gore? Like, even when the bullets were hitting people, there wasn't really any blood spatter or anything. So it was really, really weird to see. And of course, it ended up that they just cut it. They just didn't have it. But now we know why. So as you can see in this article by Michael, Starfield once had a Gore system similar to Fallout. A former Bethesda dev explains why it was removed. Interesting. So they talk a bit about like the response to it. Their first original IP in decades, it was unable to surpass the likes of Skyrim or Fallout, but still found an audience that plays it to this day. So why hasn't this been successful or as successful? There are plenty of reasons, blah, blah, blah. We've been through that before. I made an 8-hour video explaining what I think about it, but this is interesting. Kiwi asked, why was Gore removed in Starfield specifically, like Fallout or Skyrim? According to Dennis, it came down to scope and themes. Quote, that has a lot of implications with the different suits from a technical perspective. There's a lot that has to go with it. You have to cut the helmet in a certain way. You have to meet caps to the bottom where the flesh is. We had systems for all of that, and it got turned into a big rat's nest of all these things you have to count for. I can understand that. Helmets, backpacks, their various attachments become a nightmare to continuously add dismemberment elements. At some point, the amount of other elements or other items that continue being added into the game that a system like that we need to account for, it becomes best to go without it. They crossed a point where the benefits of abandoning the system outweighed having it in place. This to me seems like the most reasonable one. It just didn't really make sense to keep it. It just seemed like there was just too much. And frankly, like, Starfield was not going to be made or broken by having a Gore system. Its problems were numerous and were far beyond just that. So I don't think that that's a big deal. I'm surprised to see that they worked on it for as long as they did and then they cut it later, but still it's a little funny. I do think like it contributed to the narrative though, it not having a Gore system, which was that all of the cool stuff that Bethesda had done before with Fallout, Skyrim, any of those others, they were almost actively trying to avoid doing those cool things in Starfield. So whether it was handcrafted environments, whether it was like really well thought out exploration with a carefully crafted map and all of that stuff was slowly cut out to the point where the only thing left in Starfield were the things that Bethesda's not very good at, procedural stuff and sheer quantity of repeated locations and things like that. And so I think that it not being there contributed to the narrative that, you know, they were just all the stuff people liked, they weren't doing now. Continuing, he specified that it also came down to a thematic decision in how dismemberment or lack thereof was presented. I think for Starfield, it was definitely meant to be more of a more lo-fi and realistic. It's like The Expanse, Star Trek, stuff like that. I think it just didn't fit thematically. On top of that, you have the technical overhead cost to get that to work, where it's probably better not to include it in this game. And I think that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Thematically, would have made the game maybe have more character. It would have perhaps been more fun, and we just simply can't have that.